Welcome to episode 11 of the Sustainable Living for the Family, Health, and Home podcast. I hope you were able to see or listen to episode 10, where we talked about 3 keys in homeschooling that my children taught me. That will definitely be a help and an inspiration for you along your homeschooling journey or for those even considering it. In today's podcast, we are going to go deep into how to start homeschooling. Homeschooling, I cannot recommend enough. There are just so many benefits from homeschooling your children, from tailoring your curriculum to individualizing your lesson plans and really spending that one-on-one time that you just will not get if you were to send them to the public and private school sectors outside of your home. So if you ever were considering or wanted to homeschool, today we are delving into how you can start homeschooling and 10 of the simple steps that will guide you in getting this accomplished. Let's dig right in. Hey, this is Dr. Monique Adu, a pediatrician turned homeschool mom and keeper of my home. Welcome to my podcast, Sustainable Living for the Family, Health, and Home. In this podcast, we are going to be talking about all things sustainability and always striving to live our best in terms of the life-giving practices that we can do to build longevity and to fulfill our purpose in life. We are going to be talking about things concerning our family, home, gardening, homeschooling, health, nutrition, and so much more. I'm so glad you're here. Number 1, formulate your mission and your priorities and discuss them with your family. Discuss homeschooling with your husband so that you are all on the same page. Present to him the reasons that you feel this would be a great fit for your home, and really digging into it together will help you all to really be on the same track with a unified mission. What is your mission or your goals for homeschooling? What do you hope to accomplish in schooling your children at home? Look into what the costs may be and look into how you could make this happen. There are so many things that can affect your homeschool, that can affect the running of it efficiently and smoothly, and you really want to iron those out. Specifically, some people may work outside of the home. How will that reflect your homeschooling days? Or if you're working inside the home, what kind of things would you have to consider? Set your mission and really hone in on how you could make this happen. If you set your mission up front and early on, sometimes when challenges may come, you can always fall back on that mission and really inspire yourself to keep on moving forward, because the benefits just a few years down the road are just not comparable to the challenges and the little waves that may roar at us at times. Anything we do in life can come with the dynamic ebbs and flows of challenge, of circumstance, but it also comes with such blessing and really such satisfaction at the end of the road. So knowing your mission will help you to stay strong and it will guide you. Also, make sure that you are in prayer about starting your homeschool. It is the Father's interest and His will that you do what is best for your children. So, praying to Him, really involving Him in this process is really the number one thing you want to do. Second is speaking with your husband and your family, but going to prayer yourself one-on-one and even together with your husband and family would really be a great step in the right direction. Number 2, ensure yourself of the qualifications that may be necessary according to your state for who is defined as the appropriate teacher. Who is it that is eligible to teach your children? In some states, you have to have had a certain degree of education, and you have to be the legal guardian of the children. So make sure you are doing some research and looking into the qualifications as to who should be the teacher. Also, research your state laws and see what requirements there are. There are several things that can be quite extensive, moderate to even little in terms of what states require. And it really has a broad array of things. Also, making sure that you are filing your declaration of intent with your specific state. This is what is normally done annually and every year for each of your students so that you make it known that you intend to homeschool your children and that you will not be registering them as a part of the state schools. So making sure you have all of these state requirements down, it's very important. There are a few others as well, which I will go into next. You also want to know about the number of days required of instruction. For example, in some states, you need at least 180 hours of solid education for the whole school term, and some states even require at least a minimum of 4.5 hours of instruction. You want to know about the required subjects that some states may enforce, whether it be reading, writing, some form of language curriculum, mathematics, social sciences, history. Some of these things, some states are specific on in their requirement, and then you can also add on others to it. Some states even want a little bit more, so you really need to dig down into seeing what the requirements are. And a very good place to look is the HSLDA website, where you can really dig down into the specific state requirements so that you know exactly what your specific location is requiring. Other things of note is that some states require for you to submit an annual progress report, and sometimes it has to be looked over by an official evaluator. Usually that would be a teacher. You also may have to submit a portfolio as well. And some states just want you to keep some form of a record. So that can easily be done with the keeping up of a portfolio that you just add pieces to along the year. I find it's very good practice to just continuously keep yourself a binder and then label it according to each child and put important pieces of work or work that you really want to showcase or remember in this binder, in these folders, so that you have a collection of things for that school year, and so that if you do have to turn in a portfolio, you're not scrambling to figure out what you should do and what needs to be done. Keeping yourself in order is very important. And then there are certain requirements per state for testing, official testing that they have designated as appropriate for the evaluation of your students. There are many different tests out there, but some of note would be the CAT testing or the Iowa test. There are many others, and it needs to be specifically recognized as something that you could use to test your children. And it's so specific per state. So just really take a look at HSLDA, and that will really give you a good help in the right direction. Number 3, know your educational style and the approach that you would like to take. There are many different educational styles, and HSLDA also had a nice little breakdown that would really help you to just have an idea. Do you like traditional or textbook style approaches, boxed curriculums, a classical approach? Do you like Charlotte Mason, kind of using real books and really working on helping the child to understand their environment, how to communicate, using real life, and really growing as an individual through their studies? Do you appreciate the Montessori method, Waldorf, unit studies, where you don't have really so much of a boxed curriculum, but you're piecing together specific things focused on a certain topic and then really elaborating on it? Do you like not to have really much of any textbooks down? Do you prefer not to have a specific structured curriculum? Would you prefer unschooling or delight-directed homeschooling, where you are not tied down to a specific curriculum, but you really allow the child to do the leading more so? Do you prefer it not to be so scheduled? Or do you like many different areas of these techniques? So would you prefer a mixed or eclectic type of style? And what is your specific teaching style? Because you want to feel comfortable with the teaching and the way you're going to approach things so that you also enjoy this time and that you can be the most effective teacher that you can personally be for your children. Number 4, going hand in hand, is knowing your child's specific learning style, or where are they most able to really thrive. Do they prefer visual techniques? Do they prefer auditory types of schooling and learning? Do they prefer kinesthetic modes of learning, where they prefer being more hands-on? Do they like a mix of things where they would love to see things like pictures, diagrams, graphs? Do they want to listen to you teach, reading books out loud to them, listening to audio? Or do they want to get their hands on some squishy things and fun things as you learn about the human body and all these other interesting things? Do they prefer to really get their hands in things, or do they like to move around a lot? Would they prefer to have some nature walks and some learning outside? The sky is the limit when it comes to figuring out and really honing in on the type of learning styles that will really fit you and honestly save you a lot of trouble over time. Number 5, research your curriculum and really just focus on the foundations. Don't get bogged down in having to buy this one and that one and this one and that one. You will spend so much money, and honestly, you are experimenting and learning, especially in the beginnings. So just get the basics. Have your Bible, have your language arts, and have your math. And then you can do that history and science as a family subject. And of course, I tag it in with the Bible. If you have those fundamental areas, you are so ahead of many, many, many others. Because if you can understand how to read, communicate, learn how to write, you can then learn all the rest. Honestly, we really sometimes push our children very hard in the beginning years, and they are not necessarily retaining all the things that will honestly be repeated again in high school and the endings of junior high. So go light Allow them to enjoy their childhood and just go at their speed. Start with the foundations, but research the different types of curriculum, but don't get bogged down into it. Even just some simple books will honestly lead you in the right direction. I do have a video where I show you how I use the McGuffey's Reader to teach my child how to read. So I'll leave that linked in the show notes so you can check that out if you like. That McGuffey's Reader is a book from the 1800s that was used in a very wide area all throughout the United States, teaching many, many people how to read. And it just gives a great fundamental foundation. And I'm also tagging it along with some books that are produced from Mott Media, specifically their writing curriculum, because that really helps to solidify what's being taught in the McGuffey Readers. And I'll also leave a link for that below so you could check that out too. But these are just some fundamentals that I use. I also like to use Saxon for math. Very solid curriculum, not bogged down in a lot of details. And I find that tailoring it works best for me. Number 6, decide on your homeschooling space. Now, when you look out there and you look at Pinterest or you're looking at YouTube and you're looking at all these other people's spaces, you will tend to feel like you have to have something like that. Large and expansive with all these colors and muted color palettes or bright and primary colors, and you don't need all of that. Work with what works best for you and what you have, even if it's around the kitchen table, around the dining table, in an extra room that you may have, wherever you would like, even out on the patio or the porch. Wherever you can find a space that's not distracting for you and your children will be just fine. And it's not about how lovely or elegant it looks, because when you have children, honestly, it's going to get worn and things will be on the floor and strewn about, written on. So don't get so specific with having it to be beautiful. Just have an area where you can house your books, organize yourself, and sit comfortably and be able to concentrate so that you can really make the most of your homeschool space. And if you have a specific area that you can designate for just homeschooling, that would be ideal so that there's not a lot of shifting and moving around of things. That way things are organized in order and will be less likely to be lost. Number 7, make a general schedule for yourself so that you can plan and organize. Another extreme sometimes though is that some mothers are organizing for the whole year. I was like that too, but guess what? That oftentimes is not very reflective of life because things change. Next thing you know, you missed this chapter. You didn't get to complete this work. Now you're behind and your calendar is all off. What I do is I make a general skeletal structure. I've got my Bible, history, my science, and then the individual studies that my children do, the language arts and their math, and then other things that we may be adding on. And I do that general skeleton of a structure one day at a time, and then I cross off and fill in as we go. But I have a general idea of what we're going to cover, so you can write generalized ideas about the book you want to cover, the chapter you would like to get through, or specific skills that you want to spend more time in. But making yourself a schedule, filling out your calendar book for the whole year, I would not advise. It puts stress on you, and it also puts stress on the student, feeling like they have to accomplish all these things in this given amount of time. So just make a little skeleton of a structure and then fill in as you complete. I have developed a homeschooling planner that I can go ahead and leave the link down below. It's called the Clarity of Mind Homeschool Planner. I also have one that also incorporates your home management, and I also have one for gardening. And these are just some basic planners that help you to have some more organization. I'm going to be using the Clarity of Mind Homeschool Planner for this school term. I can't wait to dig into it. I really like how I set it up. It's very simple, streamlined, and allows for me to make my schedules just as I want, and also adding in some other home and household organizational things such as my budgeting, debt saving, debt payoff, savings plans, and evaluating my students, some individualized sheets on curriculum planning, and just several things that I find to be a help for me. So I'm really going to enjoy using it. And if you would like to take a look at it, I have it in my Etsy shop, and I'll leave the link below. But organizing yourself, planning with a generalized framework would be so helpful for you and really prevent a lot of stress that sometimes homeschooling mothers go through. Number 8, set up your record-keeping tools. It's very important that you set up yourself either some folders, binders, a box, however you want to do it. Label it well and start to file away things that you find to be important for you. Sometimes you're going through the school year and you've done so much and you wanted to remember a specific thing and you didn't remember what it was. Keeping yourself organized from the beginning will really help you in such a long way. And as I had mentioned earlier, I have a binder. I put each of my students in that binder. I have a file folder that is clear and it has a closure to it. And I just add things into that and it's safely tucked away. And remember, you're not keeping everything. In the beginning, when I started, I felt like I wanted to keep everything. But what I did to downsize all of the work was I scanned it into my computer and I actually saved it in as a portfolio. I put some of that in as my digital portfolio, so you can do that too. Or you can just save it digitally for yourself. But I do save some actual paperwork, and some of those things I put it in that file folder, and I have it under my annual progress binder for all my students in one. So that way you can keep tests and reports and things of that nature all organized so that if you do have to report something to the state, or you do want to reflect back on something, or you want to pull together your portfolio, when it comes time to submitting, if your state requires, then you have everything you need and it's so much less stressful. Number 9. You can learn from other homeschooling mothers and veterans, but make sure you are customizing what you're hearing for your family. You don't have to do everything that people suggest because it may not work well for you and your circumstances and your location and your budget and your finances. So listen with one ear and really think wisely with your abilities to know what works best for you. And number 10, submit and complete your requirements for testing per your state recommendations, as well as annual evaluations, which may be necessary, and your portfolio if applicable. Remember to submit this yearly if it is a part of your state requirements. Just take a look at the HSLDA website. There's so many helpful and valuable tools there, and that has been a help for me, that's for sure, in my homeschooling journey. So I hope these tips from 1 to 10 have at least helped to move you in the right direction and help you to see how it can be quite simple to start homeschooling. There are just different things to keep a track of. but you can easily do them once you have the insight and the understanding of how everything falls in place, and you just take it one step at a time, and through prayer, seek the Father in understanding what you should do and what's best for your homeschool. And I hope that you too, if you haven't already, will start homeschooling your children and really see the blessings and benefits that come from doing that. And if you are deep already in your homeschooling journey, I hope that this has at least reminded you of some things or given you some more tips and ways that you can really find peace in your homeschool and really an even better year this time around. As always, do all you can to be more and more sustainable. And until next time, be blessed. Thank you so much for listening and joining me in on this podcast. Please leave a review below so that others can hear about a podcast that you have found value in and enjoy. You can follow me on my website at www.drmoniqueadu.com, as well as my YouTube channel, Sustainable Living for Family, Health, and Home.